Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic on a scorching hot day here in the UK. Today we're going to be looking at this puzzle, which is by Phistomefel, the constructor from Germany. This appeared on Logic Masters Germany just yesterday, and it's another of his puzzles where he's combining spiral galaxies with killer Sudoku. It's the most wonderful idea, and I am very much looking forward to trying this puzzle. Being by Phistomefel, we know two things. It's probably not straightforward, and B, it's going to be a masterpiece. So yeah, we're in for a treat. What else do I tell you today? Oh, well, yesterday's, you may have noticed there was a glitch when we released our puzzles yesterday evening. We both had trouble with the video recordings, and we had to sort of change the release times and all sorts of things. So the videos are fixed now, but that's what went on. Basically, apparently my hard drive was too full of lots and lots of gigabytes of old videos, so I had to do a load of deleting, and it all should be fine now. And THERMO Sudoku, our new app, it is very nearly out. It's you know, the next couple of days it will be released. I'll put a link under this video in case any of you want to go onto Google Play or the App Store and pre-order it. My job today is to finish the video promo for that app. That is my most hated job, on the grounds that I have the video editing skills of a buffoon. So this is by far the best part of my day, is doing a Phistomefel puzzle. So let's talk about the rules. We have normal Sudoku rules applying. The dots given in the grid are the centres of point-symmetric galaxies, i.e. orthogonally connected groups of cells, which function as cages for the killer Sudoku. The number above a dot indicates the sum of the digits in such a cage. The digits in a cage may not repeat, and contrary to a classic spiral galaxy puzzle, not every cell in the grid has to be part of a galaxy. So that all sounds confusing when we focus on the word galaxies, especially if you've not seen a spiral galaxies puzzle before, but it's quite straightforward. What it means is, let's look at the 31 dot here. This has to have rotational symmetry around the dot. So however we connect orthogonal squares to the dot, they must be symmetrical. So if we decided this square was included in the 31 group of cells, then this cell must be included too, because it needs to have symmetry. And one thing we could immediately deduce, therefore, is consider this square cell at the top. Let me colour some in. Let's imagine we're trying to work out whether this cell is part of the 31. Well, it can't be. And the reason it can't be is if we try and include that cell as part of the 31 cage, the symmetrical counterpart, if we rotate around this dot, will be this cell here. And this cell cannot be part of the 31 because it's already part of the 15, look. This dot spans these two cells. So we could deduce from that that cell certainly couldn't be part of the 31 cage. So what we need to do is to build up the shapes in the grid and then try and do killer Sudoku on the shapes that we get. It's the most beautiful, beautiful conception, this. Now do have a go. You can just click on the link under the video to play. And with that, let's get cracking. So the first thing to do with any puzzle of this nature is to pick off any easy wins. So you can see this 15 cage, that spans two cells there, and this 17 dot, that's got to be in a different region. So let's make that green. This 7 dot, we'll make that red. This 7 dot, let's make that grey. 17 down here, let's make that blue. 15 here, I'm going to make that blue as well, on the basis I don't think they're going to be big enough to connect to each other. Red here for the 30 cage. We can do some logic now. Let's do some logic rather than some colouring. This 17, that obviously needs to take some more cells. We can't just put the number 17 in this cell here. Now you can see that if the 17 tries to come leftwards to this cell, it would also, by symmetry, have to take this cell, which we know is part of the 15. So the only way the 17 can go is upwards. But it could actually continue to go upwards. So it could be 5 cells. You can make 5 cells sum to 17 without repeating a digit, e.g. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 7. $31 cage, I will make that grey, I guess. Now, what do we do next? The 30 cage. The 30 cage is a little bit interesting to me because I can see it can't take this cell, because this cell's rotational equivalent is that one, which is part of the 15. So the 30, it could take one of these two. If it's a 4-cell 30 cage, it would have to go like this or like this. If it's a 6-cell 30 cage, it would have to be all of those, and it couldn't go any further because it's bounded on its right side and its top. Now let me just take a stare at this for a second. No, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. 30 in 6 cells doesn't work. Let me show you why. I'll make that one orange. 28 will make purple. Okay, so now let's revisit this possibility that the 30 cage takes 6 cells and see how that might look. Well, this 28 cage is having a real struggle here. You can see it can't now reflect upwards or downwards. If we try and take that cell, the equivalent is that one, the equivalent is that one. So the only way the 28 cage can now go is this way, and it would go like that. But now this dot is broken because it's bounded on its left side and its top side, so it can't extend in either direction. And look, Phistomefel's put greater than 9 into this dot. Now the reason he's done that obviously is to disambiguate this possibility. This now cannot have a legitimate solution, so we actually know therefore that the 30 cage is not a 6-cell cage. It must be a 4-cell cage, but we don't yet know which way it goes. Yeah, okay. This is classic Phistomefel though. He's built some more logic into this. If we know that the 30 cage is 4 cells large, it must be the numbers 4, 7, 8 and 9. Sorry, 4, 7, 8, 9? 6, 7, 8 and 9. So, we know these two cells are 6, 7, 8 and 9, but we know that one of these cells must be part of the 30 cage. So one of these cells is also going to be 6, 7, 8 and 9. Now that tells us something indirectly about this 15 domino here. Because if this 15 is just 2 cells, it would also have to contain the numbers 6, 7, 8 and 9. And now whichever one of these we say contains 6, 7, 8 and 9, we don't know which one it will be, let's just imagine it's that one. We've now got 5 cells in this box that have to be 4 different numbers. So that is broken. Now what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that this 15 domino here is not enough. This needs to extend, and you can see it can't come here. So it's got to go like that, which fixes the 30 cage. That is gorgeous. So now we get 6, 7, 8, 9 into those squares. Right, so now we can do classic killer Sudoku. Look on the central box, because we know that this box, this 3x3 box here, will contain all of the numbers from 1 to 9. So we know its sum is 45. That's what you get when you add up 1 to 9. Now, if we add up these coloured cages that we've got now, we've got a 30 cage, 15, so that's 45, plus 17 is 62. So these two cells must add up to 62 minus 45. They must add up to 17, which means they must be 8 and 9. So this is not, this is 8 or 9. This is stunning, isn't it? This is absolutely stunning. Pause the video if you can't see something here, because there is a lovely trick we can do with this 8-9 pair. And what I love about this is this has been built into the logic after finding that this 30 cage couldn't be 6 cells. Then we got it to 4 cells. Then we had to work out the 15 extended. And now we've got these sticking out cells here, still having a beautiful effect at this point of the logical chain. It's marvellous to behold this. It really is. But the trick is a bit like diagonal Sudoku. Can either of these cells here be 8 or 9? And the answer is no, because they see both of these cells, because this is part of this cage. So if I put 9 in here, let me show you, and that was 8. You can see neither of those squares can be 8 or 9 now, because the 9's gone from this box, the 8's taken up here, so we'd have to remove 8 and 9 from these two positions. And of course, if we reverse that, we get the same effect. 8 and 9 cannot be in those two squares. So we can actually remove 8 and 9. We get a 6-7 pair, so this one, so we've now got an 8-9 pair in the central box now. And I suppose if this is 8 and 9, these 3 squares are restricted now because they're part of a 15 cage. So if this was 9, this would have to be 1, 2 and 3. If it was 8, we'd have to have 1, 2 and 4. And if we look at the options in the central box now and look at the numbers we've pencil marked, we've not yet pencil marked a 5. So there must be a 5 in the 17 cage somewhere. And the other 2 digits are going to be 4, 8 or 3, 9, but we don't know which yet. Okay, so what do we do next? Well, the 9 cage, let's finish off the logic on that. It's greater than 9. It can't come downwards because it's bounded on its top side, so it must come across. Let's make that grey because I don't think this 7 is going to be able to connect to it. The 28 cage is now bounded on its right side, so this can't be part of the 28 cage. And this can't be part of the 28 cage either, because the reflection of this cell around this dot is this cell, which is part of the 10 cage. So the 28 must, in fact, it must do that and stop. It can't be any more than that. Okay. Now, what next? 8, 17. This 17 could still go that way, though. We don't necessarily know that this is an 8 and a 9. 2 7s here. We had this in the last Phistomefel puzzle. I think they were in the rows that time. Right, let's think about this for a second. These obviously can't both be 7 on its own because that will break the box. Can they both be 3-cell 7 clues? So can we have 1, 2 and 4 in both of these? Obviously not as well. This 7 would have to take those to be 1, 2 and 4, and now there would be nothing I could put in here. So we know that one of these clues is a 7, and one of these 7s extends and becomes a 1, 2 and 4, which means there's a 7 in one of those 2 positions. It'd be quite helpful if we could bound this 15 cage, wouldn't it? Not sure how to do that yet. 9 here on its own, that could still be a single 9. 31 cage here, that can't come vertically because the blue stops it. 31 must be at least 5, well, it must be at least 5 cells, and because the dot here is dividing 2 cells in a domino, we know it must be an even number of cells, so we know that this is 6 cells in fact. Ah, okay, so if it's 6 cells and it can't come vertically, it's got to come that way. And it can't take that square, so it must come one more. It must do that. This is the 31 cages disposition. This cage here, let's label that green. that's bounded on this side as well. So this has to come vertically. So this has to come there. And that's it. That's all that one can do. So we've got sort of two tetra-shaped regions down in column 2 and column 3. "28 in 4 cells must have an 8 and a 9 in it." Yes, because it's either 8947 or 8956. Got it. Now look, this 17 cage, let's imagine this was a 17 cage in 2 cells. It would be 8 and 9. Why is that a problem? Well, what is the effect on this 28 cage? We know this 28 cage contains an 8 and a 9 somewhere in it. So if there's an 8, 9 here, this square has to be an 8 or a 9. Now pause the video if you can't see why that's a problem. But it's this same trick again using this 30 cage. Because now we have this cell and this cell as the numbers 8 and 9 in some order. Now both of these cells see this cell. This cell has done, like, how much duty has this 30 cage done in this solution? It's just involved in everything. So now I want to pencil mark 9s in because I know there's an 8 and a 9 in here, but the most important thing is I know that this is not 8 and 9, and therefore it must extend. It can't come this way, it can't come that way, it must come that way. Now, what does that tell us? It bounds the 15 cage. Okay, that is good, because the 15 cage can only be 2 cells now, and it can't contain a 7, so it must be 6 and 9. So that means that 9, look, that can't be a 9 on its own, and it can only go like that. So that gives us a little bit of logic. Oh, of course, and the 17 here, what's it done to this? This 7 dot can't extend anywhere, so this has to just be a 7, which means this is not a 7. This has to be a 3 cell 7, and these are the digits 1, 2 and 4. And oh yeah, now we're starting to get somewhere, aren't we? This 7 disambiguates the 6, 7 in this sort of ubiquitous 30 cage. Now, right, so this now can't be a 7 clue on its own, so this must be a 3 cell galaxy, and it can only go vertically. Let's make that blue. So this is 1, 2 and 4. And we're slowly building a square in the grid. Oh, it'd be so disappointing if this 8 isn't a triple like that. I'm not going to assume it's going to be, obviously, but it would be rather nice if it went that way. Now, hang on. Let me stare at this for a moment and see what we can deduce. Now I've got spotted something actually. Let me look. In row 4 of the grid, those 4 squares are 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is a quadruple on the numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now, and we can use that actually, because where does the 3 go in this quadruple? Well, it must be in one of those 2 cells. Now, if that's true, that means the 15 cage, this 15 cage contains a 3. And if it contains a 3, we actually know that all of the numbers in it now, because it must be 9, 1, 2, 3, rather than 8, 1, 2, 4. So we know there's no 4 in here now, and we know this is a 9. Now, if we know that's a 9, we know that's an 8 from the earlier logic, where we had to remove 17, if you remember, into those two squares. So this is a 9. This 8 cell can't be... Oh, no, this is great, because now, look, we've got to put 4 and 8 in here. They've got to go in the 17 cage now. So this 17 cage is 4, 5, and 8, and these 8s point at that one. So this can't contain an 8, so it has to be 3 cells. And that makes me happy, because that must mean it does that. And now we have a square inside the 9 by 9 square. We have a 7 by 7 square. Now, 8's here, look. These can't be 8's anymore, so there must be an 8 in one of those two squares. Now. So that means the 26 clue, look, can't contain an 8. So if we're making 26 without 8, we must have a 9 in there. And then we're making 17 in 3 cells without 8 or 9. Which, that must be 6, 7, and 4. Because 6, 5, 4 doesn't add up to enough. 7, 5, 4 doesn't add up to enough. So, right, so this box we've now fixed. This is 4, 6, 7, and 9. Well, 4 we can place, look, because of the 1, 2, 4 triple here. These can't be 4. This can't be 4, so that is a 4. That can't be a 9. Oh, it can't be a 9. That can't be a 4. 7, 4. That can't be a 9 either, look, because of this 9 here. Actually, we can continue the logic with the 4s. There's now no 4 in the 28 cage. So this cannot be 4, 7, 8, 9. It must be 5, 6, 8, 9. And if it's... I thought I made a mistake there, but that looks okay, doesn't it? That can be a 5. So this is a 5. It's the only thing it can be of 5, 6, 8, and 9 because of this 6, 8, 9 all looking at this square. So these 3 squares are the numbers 6, 8, and 9 in some order. That one obviously can't be an 8, so the 8 lives over here. We've got 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple now in column 2, which means we haven't placed 3 and 5 in this column, so 3 and 5 must live on the perimeter. 5 can't be here, look. Let's remove that. In fact, 5 is quite restricted in this box. 5 must go into one of those cells. That can't be a 4 because of the quadruple we've got here, so let's remove 4 from this one. This one can't be an 8. Seven, 9. And okay, so where do we look next? I don't know. The 8 here must have a 1 in it. So 7, 4, 31. Now hang on. No, actually that's not going to work. Bobbins, let's move on again. Sorry about this. This is always this part of a puzzle that I dread the most when I get stuck. 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 5. Where is it I'm meant to be looking here? So along this row, still got to place 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that square's got to be 6, 7, and 9. That doesn't look terribly helpful, does it? 3, 4, 17, 7. Must be a 7 in one of those two squares. 6, 8, 9. Oh, is this 10 cage a bit more restricted than I was thinking it is? Oh yeah, this 10 cage is restricted. What can I put in this cell? Well, if it's bigger than 5, it must be 7, because 6, 8, and 9 have all gone. But if it's lower than 5, I can't put 1 or 3, because that would put a 7 or a 9 here. And I can't put 4, so this has to be 2 or 7, I think. And this square has to be 8 or 3. Now, is either of those ruled out by anything? Answer, I'm not sure. Can't tell. 2, 3, 4, 5. This square can't be a 3 because of the 3's in one of those two positions. Ah, look, that gives us one. Ah, nice. Now we've got a 1, 2, 4 triple in row 5. That square has to therefore be a 5. That's an 8. That's a 4. Good stuff. Now we're going again. Oh, that's interesting. 5's here, mean that must be a 5 now. Now, what else can we see here? We've got 1, 2, 4. So we've got to place, I've got to place 3, 6, and 9 into those 3 squares. That can't be a 6 or a 9 because there's a 6, 9 in the box. That must be a 3. Which means that's a 3, look, from the 3's up here. So this square's got to be a 6 or a 9. So we've got a 6, 7, 9 triple in this box. Still, see, this 9 cage is totally useless. I think the only purpose of this 9 cage was to disambiguate that 30 cage at the beginning. Because once you know it's greater than 9, I mean, it could be anything. 8s. Do I have to use this 31 cage somehow? Ah, yeah. Ah, right, hang on, look. This 31 cage is much more restricted than I first thought because this 9 is very powerful. It's removing 9 from all of those yellow squares in the 31 cage. Can that square be a 9? And the answer is no, because we know that there is a 9 in this 26 cage. And it's either there or there, both of which, see this square. These Tetris shapes throughout this puzzle are doing amazing work on the logic. So if the 31 cage doesn't include a 9, right, so the way I look at this 31 cage actually is to look at it from the other direction. I know because a 9-cell cage would add up to 45, a 6-cell cage is missing digits totaling 14. And if one of those digits is a 9, the other 2 are going to either be 2 and 3 or 1 and 4. Now, can we do anything with that? Oh, 3's. Oh, not quite. Not the 3. No! Yes, the 3's work. These 3's, they work because, look, they remove 3's from those squares. Now we know, oh, this is gorgeous. We know in row 2 and row 3, there are going to be 2 3's altogether. Where can they go? They can't go here or here because of these 3's. We've pencil marked these squares, they can't be 3's. And we can't put 2 3's in the same box. So there must be 1 3 in the 9 cage, and there must be 1 3 in in the 31 cage. Now, once we know there's a 3 in the 31 cage, we know that the 31 cage must be missing the digits 9, 1 and 4. So we can actually write in the options for this cage. It's going to have a 2, a 3, a 5, a 6, a 7 and an 8. Now that is a lot of pencil marking. I'm not sure. Now, can we do anything? Well, yeah, the 3s in the 9 cage remove 3s from all of those positions. Let's do that to start with. That one can't be a 5 or an 8, looking at the column. This one can't be a 7 or a 6. This one can be anything. This one can't be 5 or 8 again. That one can't be 6. That's not actually that good, is it? It is quite good, actually. This square, again, pause the video if you can't see why, but this Tetris block now has suddenly become very powerful. This square can't contain a 6 or a 7 because this square sees every single one of the cells in this Tetris shape, and this Tetris shape contains the digits 6 and 7. Therefore, this one can't. This is a 2. There's no 2 in any of those squares now, is there? This 2 fixes the 10 cage. Look down at the bottom. That's a 7. That's a 3. That's not a 7, therefore. That means that must be a 7. Three fixes that that's a 3. What a puzzle, eh? What a treat this is. Now, what can we do next? The 8 cage down here doesn't contain a 3, so it must be 1, 2 and 5. That one can't be 5. I don't think we know about the others yet. This 9 cage, it does contain a 3, but it doesn't contain a 2. So this can't be 2, 3, 4 anymore. It must be 1, 3 and 5. Now that might be helpful. That can't be a 1. This square can't be a 5 anymore. That's got to be the 8. That removes 8 from the rest of the 31 cage. Look, this one can't be 5. 1, 3, 5. 3, 5, 6, 7, 9. So one of... Oh, where does the 4 go? This 4 and this 4, place a 4 up there, and now this square is the only place a 4 can go in box 3. What now? Oh, look, in this column, I've got a 6, 9 pair. So we've actually, those 7 digits are fixed. We haven't got a 1 or a 3. They must live in the perimeter. So, now is that helpful? Look. That's an X-wing on 3s. We now know the 3s are either disposed like that or like that in the finished solution. I don't think that's actually helpful because we've got so much information about 3s already. Although, as there's a 3 in one of these 2 squares, and there's a 3 here, and there's a 3 here, there must now be a 3 in the 17 cage. That can't be a 4, just notice that. 6, 9. So along here, I need to place 1, 2, and 8 somehow. This square's got to be 1, 2, or 8. This square's got to be 1, 2, or 8. That all looks completely possible, doesn't it? So where is the next breakthrough? 6, 7. Oh, look, on this, in this row, I've got, is that a 3, 5, 6, 7 quadruple? It is. Wow. Okay, so these two digits here have got to be 1, 2, and 8 in some order. So, can we do anything useful with that? Maybe I should look at 8s again. We've got... it's not that good. We've got an 8 locked into one of those two squares. So the 8 in this box must be in one of those two positions. 2, 8, 6. Down here we've got 4, 6, 8 and 9 to place in this row. So that... yes. Look, there's 6, 8, 9 there. That 4's been sitting there hanging for ages. Oh, it's probably... I'm actually quite relieved when this happens, though. It doesn't actually do anything for the solve. It doesn't rule out anything there, doesn't give me anything here. It means we've got 6, 8s and 9s over there. Yes, okay, but now this square in the 17 cage here, can this be an 8? If this is an 8, this would have to be at least a 6. So that would be 8 plus 6 is 14. These two squares would have to be 1 and 2, and we know there's a 3 in one of them, so that's not possible. This is not 8. 1, 2 pair in row 6 now, so that must be an 8. That's not an 8 now. That must be an 8 over there. 1, 2 pair in box 3 now. Oh, that's nice, because the 1, 2 pair, look, takes the 1 out of this square. So this is now a 3, 5 pair, which means that's a 7, which means that's a 6. That must be a 3 and a 5. This must be a 1, because this is a 3 and a 5. And that flurry might be very helpful, yes. 5s are now pointing at both of these squares. That means the 5 must live over here in the 8 cage. That 5 points at the 5, 3 again. That points at this 3 down here. And what we this 1 disambiguates the 1 and the 2 in the 8 cage. That gives us the 1 and the 2 in the middle. These can't be 2 now. These can't be 1. Oh goodness, it's still this 6 maybe, is that? So that can't be a 6. This one is the key, isn't it? Now that can't be a 7. So this must be a 9. This must be a 7. 6, 9, 6, 9, 6. This 6 shifts the 6 over there. Creates an 8, 9 pair. That can't be an 8. I don't know why I've got 8 in there because of the 8 there, look. Now down this column we need 1, 2 and 5. So that's a 1 or a 5 up in the corner. That can be anything. That can be anything. Bobbins again. But we're close, I think. I think we are closing in on a solution here. Just have to figure out 1 or 2 more bits of logic and we'll be okay. 1, 2, 4, 8. So this square, look, that can't be an 8 for the same reason that couldn't have been an 8. We just break the box immediately. So this has to be 1, 2 or 4. And you can see, actually, it's fascinating. If we look at this and try and make this a 1, 2, 3 pair, this square can't be big enough. So this actually needs to have a 4 in it in order for us to be able to get as high as 17. So this cannot be a 6 by the same logic. Now we've got an 8, 9 pair. This is a 6. That plonks a 6 at the top. These two squares have got to be 8 and 9 to complete the box. That's great. That fixes that in that order. This square down here has got to be a 1 or a 2 to complete that column. We need 1, 2 and 7 into those two squares. That's quite nice. That gives us a triple in this box. This has got to be an 8 or a 9. It's still resisting. The 9 cage is irrelevant. I need to remember that. 2, 5. So it must be something, I think, in these central columns. I'm not seeing anything else. Let's check these 3 squares just to make sure. We've got 2, 4 and 7 into those positions. So this has got to be 2 or 4, that's got to be 4 or 7, and this has got to be 7 on its own. Right, okay. Maybe that is what's crucial. 4, 4. Now this has to be a 4, look. That's going to give us the value of this square. That's a 5, I think. And down this column, we still need to place a 9 and a 6. We can do that as well. This 9 is massive, yes, because that gives us the 8 and the 9 on this side, the 9 and the 8 on this side. And finally, those 2 squares are 7 and 8, and the 8 here fixes it. 8, 7. This has got to be a 7 now. So only place a 7 can go in the box. Ah, what's going on? This must be finished. I must just be missing something. But what is it that I'm missing? 3, 5, 1, 3. Oh, of course, it's going to be the 17. The 17 is going to disambiguate the whole puzzle, is it? Wow. So let's check it out. So we've got 8, we've got 15 at the moment. So the moment I place the 2 in here, I think everything is suddenly going to become clear. And indeed, look. It is just stunning, isn't it? Every time he is just on point with these puzzles, creating these masterpieces. Brilliant. Phistomefel again. Fabulous. I loved that. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me solve it. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.